Well, it's time to find out what is making a splash online and in the press as well. James Creedon is here for today's Media Watch. Hello there, James.
Hi, Laura.
And once again, Donald Trump has pretty much done your job for you, hasn't he? This time in Singapore.
Trump Watch.
Yes, absolutely. Rebrand. With the Kim Jong-un talks. So much material.
Yeah.
But you're going to talk specifically about this Hollywood-style video. This is all very strange that Trump showed Kim. Tell us more about this.
That's right. I think we have some pictures from it. There's a longer version that went up on YouTube, and it had, it was very Hollywood style in terms of its production. Some people called it, such as Mediaite, called it a creepy propaganda video that Trump made for Kim Jong-un. Elsewhere, thinkprogress.org said that it showed bizarre Hollywoods. That Trump showed him a bizarre Hollywood-style trailer. So
to commemorate the meeting, kind of thing, just like those coins.
But it's this in terms of diplomatic hacks is pretty unusual, I think, to say the least, and certainly got a lot of people scratching their heads. So lots of headlines about that.
Who made it? Do you know who the director is or anything?
It was. I can't remember now. It was at the start, but it is sort of Hollywood style production, and other people calling it on Twitter, calling it an extraordinary propaganda film presented to Kim during the summit. I think it was quite meta as well, because not alone in the contents of the meeting did you have this bizarre sort of propaganda style video, but also in the whole build up to it, there was a massive amount of suspense. Not a huge amount of meat on the bones of the actual agreement, but a huge amount of theatre, political theatre and diplomatic theatre.
A lot of photo ops.
And the TV channels, of course, the news channels did get involved. MSNBC has theme music and a graphic. At the nuclear summit for tonight's coverage, same dramatic music as national disaster. So some people finding the whole coverage rather dramatic. Others here alluding to the fact that Donald Trump probably got exactly what he wanted in that regard. He's certainly a man who knows how to build up some suspense for whatever it is he might be dealing with in that given moment.
Okay. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because Donald Trump gets on really badly with some of America's allies. I'm thinking of Justin Trudeau. I'm thinking of Angela Merkel. Yet he seemed to get on so well with Kim Jong-un, and the word bromance is back.
That's right. Do you remember that was used to be referred to Emmanuel Macron? We were talking about it during the visit to the White House.
Yes, of course.
Macron resolute on trade.
That soured quickly, didn't it?
Well, yes, as Trump bromance cools, because the bromance has shifted now to the bromance of the century, according to The Guardian. Trump's bizarre trailer for his summit with Kim, that again, that's a reference to the trailer, but the two men who hold the future of this particular issue in their hands. So lots of references to that. That's another image, French cartoon there, showing the latest bromance with a little Jacques Brel twist there, ne me quitte pas, ne me tweete pas. Don't tweet at me anymore in your regressive language. We're the best of buddies now. All very theatrical and odd.
And all such a long way from Little Rocket Man and deranged old dotard.
Because, and we saw the state of relations of Western allies at the G7 summit. Here's one German Twitter user kind of imagining
you couldn't help yourself.
What Angela Merkel might have to do now to kind of be taken more seriously by President Trump. Anyway, there is a little bit of silliness online as well.
Oh, are you going to talk
more
about
silliness as well about Dennis Rodman, because former basketball player, he rather oddly is one of the kind of best known American figures in North Korea. He's travelled there a number of times.
He's good friends with Kim Jong-un.
Looked at basketball matches together, and so some even saying retweet if you think he could be the first, well, at least the latest US ambassador to North Korea. And he did cry on air. He was very emotional about this, perhaps because he knows both men personally. So there you go. Lots of comments then as well on social media, just about the people commenting on the grit, I suppose, or the actual material of the agreement. The more Trump talks about the deal, the worse it sounds. US stops exercises, pledges to remove troops, no new sanctions, all in exchange for vague promises of denuclearization. That's Josh Rogan of The Washington Post. Yet, on the other side of the spectrum, you have Piers Morgan in the Daily Mail saying Trump critics are racing to dismiss his summit as a failure, but he's closer to peace with North Korea than any of his predecessors, and the world feels safer tonight as a result. Congrats, Mr. President. So you can see there's a whole spectrum of opinions there.
Even he said he felt sick when Trump described Kim as a talented individual, because, of course, we have to talk about the human rights issue. This is a brutal dictatorship. Right. People are starved to death, put in concentration camps. It really is,
actually, this cartoon really picks up on that issue. Actually, some of the cartoonists, I suppose, perhaps trying to, in satire, show that there are some very serious issues that are just not on the table at all. gulags and whatnot, and you can see here just the nuclear issue, putting the nail in the coffin, if you like, of dealing with those underlying prolonged human rights issues in North Korea that have not been dealt with perhaps successfully at all up to now. To stay with some cartoons, and this gets back to the preceding G7 summit, you can see him there boarding Air Force One. Kim, here I come, with just Western relations in utter tatters there, and this kind of diplomatic, boorish diplomatic style in Singapore. But people are joking about it. I'll get to the more serious issues in the end. And my enemy is my friend, and my friends, well, Kim and I have agreed to bomb Canada, right? So there is a bit of silliness there. This was also in the Washington Post. Kim, it's so romantic being here with a kindred spirit, watching the sunset on the Western Alliance. I think a lot of people really sort of just absolutely perplexed, long-term geopolitical sort of analysts, at what's going on right now. Certainly some positive noises in terms of ending the nuclear proliferation in North Korea, but the rest of the landscape, it's all rather confusing.
Everything's very uncertain right now.
That's right. I'll finish with this image. This is Doug Mills, photographer for the New York Times, because I think despite everything, everybody does agree that it was a rather historic moment, with at least promise for the details to be filled in and things to be built on. So that's one black and white image of the two leaders standing side by side, walking side by side, following their lunch on Sentosa Island. So perhaps we'll leave it with a neutral image and not a satirical cartoon.
James, thank you very much indeed.